There's been a big development today in what can only be described as one of the world's biggest corruption scandals involving Malaysia's 1MDB state fund. Around $4.5 billion US, or nearly 7 billion Aussie, was thought to have been misappropriated, some of which was even used to produce the Hollywood blockbuster Wolf of Wall Street. Well, today, Malaysia's High Court has ruled jailed former Prime Minister Najib Razak will need to defend himself again on several charges in another trial. Now, these include 4 charges of abuse of power and 21 charges of money laundering. It's all got to do with accusations he illegally received more than $500 million US from 1MDB. He's currently serving a 6-year jail term after being convicted in 2020 of illegally obtaining $10 million US from a unit of that troubled state fund. Well, Ibrahim Suffian is the co-founder of the opinion research firm Merdeka Centre, and he joins me now from Kuala Lumpur. Ibrahim Suffian, really good to have you on the program with us. Now, Najib Razak was hoping to effectively be acquitted of these charges, but things didn't quite go his way. Can you talk us through the High Court's ruling?
Well, the court today decided that it has ample evidence to call for Najib Razak's defense. I think in the proceedings today, the judge mentioned that he has found that the charges fulfill all the criteria under the Malaysian Criminal Procedure Code and that the charges against Najib were valid. And so Najib now has to defend himself. He has some options, whether he wants to, basically call in witnesses or go to the witness stand and so on. It does mean that he has to defend himself, despite the fact that he has strenuously said that he's innocent of these charges, including a very odd public declaration of apology recently.
So it looks like he'll have to take the stand when the trial takes place. When will this happen? When will the trial happen?
The trial will begin on the 2nd of December this year. And judging by how these things go on in Malaysia, it will take several years for the process to go. It might take anywhere between 18 to 24 months, I think, at the least. And then at the end of it, if he is found guilty, he can still file an appeal. And so the process can take years before this specific case sees conclusion.
Yes, and of course, by that time, he might be out in 2026, I think, from his current prison term. But of course, this is that one trial, but he's got other charges even beyond this, aren't there?
Yeah, so besides this, there are 2 other pending charges. He has one case relates to money laundering of 27 Malaysian ringgit, and he has another case related to a breach of trust amounting to 6.6 billion Malaysian ringgit. So that's about 2 billion Australian dollars related to the sovereign fund that he's entrusted with and dealing with the Abu Dhabi investment fund. So there's 2 more cases pending in the wings right after this particular case.
Okay, I did say 2026 for his release, it's 2028. But Najib did last week apologize for his mishandling of 1MDB, and it's an apology that was welcomed by his political foe, the current Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. How is that being received in Malaysia?
I mean, in Malaysia, I think largely the crowd, the public in Malaysia, is in agreement with what the courts had found earlier against Najib. So they are not in disagreement with the guilty verdict. They respect the decision of the court. And so Najib's apology that was read out by his son last week was actually perceived quite negatively in the Malaysian crowd. And also when Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim said that he receives it positively, it was also interpreted as seeing that the government accepts his apology. I think the government is trying to say that it's a nuanced approach, that they are not dismissing the apology, but they're not accepting it either. They respect the decision of the courts. And so it's, I think, a play towards the public gallery and trying to get public opinion on his side.
Yeah, what could also be perceived quite negatively is the proposals by the Anwar government to allow for house arrest for some offences. And the feeling from some is that this is being targeted at Najib, who's also been calling for that from behind bars.
Yeah, certainly that is a widespread suspicion, although the government itself has said that it's putting a proposal for house arrest as a provision under Malaysian law, because they have many other cases where convicts are very ill or very old, and that the crimes are not too serious. So the government is trying to portray that it is also catering to the general, convict population at large. But I think most Malaysians believe that it's targeted to Najib, and I think understanding this issue more specifically, I think the Prime Minister Anwar also has to balance the sentiments of supporters of Najib, because Najib's party is a member of the ruling coalition government in Malaysia. So it's also a balancing act, I gather.
And of course, has this court decision today given Malaysians overwhelmingly much higher confidence in the justice system and being seen as more independent as it was back in Mahathir's time in power?
Certainly. I think court's judgment today is read by many Malaysians as something positive, that there is no interference by the executive into the decisions of the judiciary. There's always been the suspicion or fear that because UMNO, Najib's former party, has been now part of the government, that there might be some kind of leniency or deals cut behind the scenes. But so far, this has not panned out, and that the courts have been fair, and they have, I think, pursued this case with utmost competency. So I think the confidence remains very high in the Malaysian court system.
And of course, we are talking 1MDB, and I can't ignore Jho Low, the alleged mastermind behind this entire scandal. Where is he, and what's happening in terms of getting him to face justice?
I think people in the know are speculating. I think the Malaysian authorities do know that recently Jho Low and his family cut a specific agreement with the US authorities with respect to charges against him in the United States. His whereabouts are not formally known. I think within Malaysian circles, it's widely suspected that he's somewhere in China, based on eyewitness reports, of people seeing him in specific Chinese cities. But, no certainty. But the Malaysian authorities, when I followed up on this topic, have continued to mention that they are going to pursue him, no matter what it costs.
Okay, Ibrahim Suffian, really good to get your insights into the 1MDB scandal once again. Thanks very much.